Revealed, single dad's unexpected life-changing piano performance left CEO and everyone in tears. In a quaint suburban town, nestled among trees and laughter, Jake stood by his workbench, fingers greasy from fixing cars while a haunting lilting sound drifted through his small home, a sound that awakened memories of a life filled with love and music. His daughter, Lily, with curls bouncing and spirit soaring, reminded him of everything he had lost and everything he had to hold on to. A devoted dad, Jake worked tirelessly at the garage, his heart heavy with the silence left in the wake of his wife's passing. But each day, he fought to fill their home with laughter and warmth, even as the shadows of grief lingered. His battered piano, a relic of happier days, echoed with soft melodies whenever Jake found a moment to breathe. In the quiet corner of their living room, he would pluck at the keys, remembering how beautiful life once was. Oh, how he longed to share this passion with Lily, to see her smile light up as the notes fluttered through the air like butterflies. But the weight of bills and the fear of failing her often drowned out those dreams. When whispers of a local charity event floated through the air, promising support for families in need, hope glimmered cautiously in Jake's heart. He learned it was Amanda, the CEO, who was spearheading this grand initiative. A woman adorned with riches that sparkled like her diamond-studded watches, she rarely glanced at struggles like his. In her eyes, he was just a man, a mechanic, far removed from her shimmering world. When names were announced, Jake's was overlooked, brushed aside while richer talents were favored. The sting of indignation hit him like a jolt. Yet, as he watched Lily glow with eagerness to attend the event, her sweet voice filled with dreams, he felt the tug of a distant passion. She pushed him gently but firmly, "Daddy, you can play. Show them what you can do." Her belief wrapped around him like a warm blanket, a flame igniting the embers of his resolve. "Maybe I'll surprise them," he whispered, contemplating the leap he was about to take. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. The night of the performance arrived, the auditorium buzzing like a hive, filled with faces that shimmered with wealth and polish. Amanda stood proudly among them, her laughter light as air, an emblem of elegance. When Jake stepped onto the stage, his heart hammered, breaths shallow as doubts clawed at his resolve. But he pushed through, fingers trembling but determined. He positioned himself at that worn piano, every eye focused on him, every moment stretching painfully. As his fingers danced over the keys, a delicate sound emerged, full of longing and love. The melody swirled, wrapping around the audience, pulling them into the depths of his struggle and joy. Each note echoed the heartache of loss and the warmth of fatherly love. Amanda's eyes filled with unexpected tears, immediate and raw, as she began to confront the judgments she had built around her privilege. In that moment, under the dim lights, an unspoken connection sparked across the room, challenging everyone's perception and stirring empathy. A community once divided now felt united, emotions swirling high like sparks in a bonfire. But as the last note faded, a charged silence swept through the air, leaving lingering questions. Would Amanda confront her biases, or would fear hold her captive? Jake's journey and the unraveling of Amanda's heart had only just begun, inviting the promise of more revelations that loomed on the horizon. Jake's heart raced as the final notes faded into a gripping silence, the echoes lingering in the air like the scent of freshly baked bread. Every eye in the auditorium was on him, as if the audience had collectively held their breath. He glanced at Lily, whose eyes sparkled with pride, her little hands clapping wildly. She was his anchor, her beaming smile lit up the room amidst the suffocating quiet. For a moment, the world blurred. The lights turned brighter, illuminating Amanda's face, which was now painted with confusion and vulnerability. Jake caught her gaze, and in her eyes, he saw her unraveling, the walls built from years of privilege beginning to crack. She, a woman who had floated through life with ease, was witnessing something real, raw, honest emotion found in a simple melody. As applause erupted, it wasn't just a clap for his performance. It was an acknowledgement of stories hidden behind the facades they all wore. Strangers looked at each other, perhaps seeing reflections of their own struggles in Jake's notes. Tears flowed freely, an unexpected catharsis sweeping the audience. But Jake didn't need validation, what he craved was connection. The sounds of clapping turned into a wave of voices murmuring support, and amidst it all, he took a deep breath, willing to step beyond his comfort zone. "Thank you," he said, his voice shaky but steady. "This is for my daughter, Lily. We all have stories, and music connects us." Amanda stepped forward, her expression shifting from surprise to something more profound. She was ready to address the audience but paused, as if weighing her words against the weight of her previous judgments. "Jake, your performance, it was transformative," she finally said, her voice soft yet firm. "You reminded us that every person has a story worth hearing. You've inspired me to take a closer look at what I've overlooked in this community." She trailed off, glancing around as the crowd reacted with a symphony of supportive murmurs. Feeling lighter, Jake smiled. Amanda was being human at last, moving beyond her corporate stature and the glimmering world of her wealth. A bridge was being built where once stood a chasm. With their eyes locked, a silent agreement passed between them. Jake was ready for the next chapter, and Amanda seemed ready to join him on that journey. The evening unfolded like a beautiful tapestry, with laughter and shared stories. Tribe members, once mere onlookers, began to unite around a common purpose. Jake realized that perhaps this night wasn't just about breaking barriers or economic divides, it was about healing he, Amanda, and all of them facing their vulnerabilities together. Yet as the night drew to a close, and people began to disperse, Jake felt a slight shiver of uncertainty creep back in. What would happen next? Would Amanda truly commit to her newfound resolve, or would she slip back into her comfortable life and forget the lessons learned in those fleeting moments of raw connection? The thought nagged at him, even amid the joy of the night. What did it take for her to truly embrace change, and how could he trust it wouldn't be just a fleeting emotion? Jake knew the seeds of transformation had been planted. All that remained was to nurture them with time and action. As he prepared to leave the stage, a firm voice broke through the echo of thoughts. "Jake, wait!" Amanda called out, her urgency tinged with genuine warmth. He turned toward her, curiosity piqued. What more did she have to say? In that instant, he could feel the tide shift once again, and something inside him fluttered, hope, fear, and possibility intertwining. The story was far from over. What lay ahead could reshape everything. Jake turned, the weight of Amanda's words hanging in the air between them. He could see a storm of emotion brewing in her eyes, a mix of determination and vulnerability. "I've been thinking," she continued softly, stepping closer as if it were an intimate conversation instead of a public gathering. "What if I helped you share your music? Not just here, but out there where it could really touch lives." His heart leaped. The prospect felt both intoxicating and daunting. Could he bear to expose his music to a wider audience? Would it mean he'd have to confront his insecurities head-on? Just the thought of performing outside this supportive bubble sent shivers down his spine. "You mean, like a concert?" Jake stammered, searching her expression for reassurance, wanting to believe in her sincerity but battling his own self-doubt. "More than that," Amanda said, her voice gathering strength. "A charity event. For families like yours. We could invite local businesses, friends, anyone willing to contribute. The focus wouldn't solely be on great music, but also on real stories, real lives. You and others in similar situations." The idea ignited something within him, a sense of hope that perhaps his voice could spark change, not just for him, but for others as well. Yet, the nagging doubts crept back in. What if no one shows up? What if they don't care? He asked, his words rushing out, each syllable weighed down with fear. Amanda shook her head, her conviction infusing the air. "You saw it tonight. People want to feel connected. They want to know they're not alone. We can showcase your story and others, including the struggles, the triumphs. Together, we can make it meaningful. Jake looked around the auditorium, the relaxed laughter and flowing conversations replacing the intensity of before. Every gesture echoed a newfound understanding among the attendees. It felt alive, vibrant, and he realized it was exactly this atmosphere he wanted to share. "But what if I fail?" he whispered, his voice barely audible over the growing energy around them. "What if you soar?" Amanda shot back, a smile breaking through her serious demeanor. "Change starts when we step outside our comfort zones, right? I think you could reach people in ways you've never imagined." Jake felt a warmth spreading in his chest. Here was Amanda, stripped of her corporate armor, willing to risk everything for a vision that could transform lives. It was contagious. Maybe she was right. Maybe stepping into the unknown was more important than staying safely behind the curtain. As he opened his mouth to respond, a soft tug at his leg interrupted him. Lily appeared, eyes wide with excitement. She had caught the tail end of their conversation. "Daddy, can we make the music a big party? I wanna help." The joy in her voice mixed with Amanda's fierce determination. They were giving him an invitation he couldn't ignore. Okay. Let us do it," Jake said, his heart pounding with exhilaration. "Let us make it happen." The spark in Amanda's eyes ignited a fire in him. He felt the energy shift, a collective sense of purpose swirling around them. But as the night began to dwell on its ending, a whisper of doubt simmered beneath the surface. He had agreed, but what did it mean for his life? How would he juggle his fatherhood, work, and the weight of a newly chosen path? Jake recognized change would require sacrifice, it would demand more than he anticipated, yet, as he watched Lily bound toward the stage, twirling in delight, he also felt a renewed sense of purpose. Maybe this was what had been missing in their lives, an opportunity to contribute, to be part of something larger than themselves. "Let us talk more about this," Amanda said. "We need to think about the logistics, venues, everything." Jake nodded, heart racing. He was diving headfirst into a new world, and anticipation thrilled him. But what challenges lurked ahead? Was he ready to fight the inevitable struggles of launching this vision? As they began to make plans, an unexpected thought nagged at the back of Jake's mind. He had taken the first step. What would be the next? Would he be able to turn this moment into something truly impactful, or would it slip into another failed attempt on his journey? In that moment of uncertainty, he realized he was standing on the edge of something big, teetering between fear and excitement. What awaited him on the other side of this leap of faith? The next few days passed in a blur of activity. Jake threw himself into preparations, fueled by a mix of adrenaline and anxiety. The thought of the charity event loomed in his mind, transforming from a dream into a tangible reality. He spent hours drafting plans with Amanda, who seemed to have a seemingly endless stream of ideas and connections. "Let us start with a venue," she said one afternoon, pacing in front of a whiteboard cluttered with notes and sketches. "Something central, where people can easily come together. Maybe we can even partner with a local park. Families love a good outdoor event." Jake nodded, scribbling down her suggestions. Every time Amanda spoke, he could feel the spark of excitement growing within him, pushing aside the lingering fears. But as he made lists and set budgets, another worry crept in his music. What if the moment came, and he was overwhelmed? What if he couldn't deliver what everyone expected? He'd play in the living room, his old piano creaking beneath his fingers, but had he ever played for a crowd? The idea of his music echoing into the world made his stomach twist. Yet, when he thought of Lily's joyful smiles, her innocence and enthusiasm, it fueled his resolve. Lily bounced through the door after school the next day, skipping in excitement. "Daddy, can we sing?" she asked, her wide eyes sparkling with anticipation. Without waiting for an answer, she leaped onto the couch, bouncing up and down. It was as if her unfiltered joy was contagious, wrapping him in the warmth he so desperately needed. "All right, kiddo. What do you want to sing?" he asked, his apprehension softening under the weight of her enthusiasm. Something happy. Like the song you always play when we dance. She chirped. Okay, let us do this. He started playing the familiar tune, a joyful melody that filled the room with light. Lily's voice chimed in, pure and sweet. As they sang, he found himself lost in the music, each note soothing his anxieties. For a brief moment, it felt like everything might actually be okay. That evening, while Lily practiced a dance routine she had created, Jake sat down to write an outline for his performance. Each point he jotted down felt like an anchor in the ocean of uncertainty. Amanda would be there to support him, and Lily's laughter would be a reminder of why he was doing this, but the next morning, as the sun rose softly over the horizon, Jake received a phone call that dashed his optimism. It was from the office where he worked part-time. They called him in, explaining that his hours would be cut due to budget constraints. Suddenly, the financial stability he relied on began to crumble, adding to the weight on his shoulders. Could he balance this new endeavor with mounting pressures at home? After the call, he spent an uneasy morning staring blankly at the piano keys, thoughts racing. The charity event was becoming a beacon of hope, but now there was also the reality of supporting Lily and making ends meet. Could he even focus on the event while worrying about his job security? He gazed at a picture on the wall, one of him and Lily at the beach, her face lit up with pure joy. It reminded him of the change he was trying to create not just for himself but for families like theirs. Deep down, somewhere beneath the rising tide of worry, the fire ignited by Amanda's conviction still glowed. Jake realized that maybe, just maybe, the event wasn't just about the music. It was about community, resilience, and hope. It would challenge him in ways he hadn't anticipated, but wasn't that part of the journey? As he wrestled with uncertainty, he made a choice. He would use this moment, a chorus of chaos and love, to push forward, embracing the unknown. He needed to believe in himself and what lay beyond fear, and as he slowly returned to his piano, his fingers danced across the keys, something within him shifted. Was the real performance the music, or was it his willingness to face the crowd, the challenges, and ultimately himself? With each note, he felt a spark of defiance against the doubts. The only way out was to move forward, to pour everything he had into this event. That he opened his notebook and wrote a line at the top of the page, bold and undeniable: I will not let fear define this journey. Now, all he needed was to figure out how to turn uncertainty into strength. Would he be ready to face this next chapter with courage? And who would stand beside him when the night of the event finally arrived? The day of the charity event arrived, carrying with it a whirlwind of nerves and excitement. Jake stood in front of the mirror, adjusting his collar, forcing himself to take deep breaths. His pulse raced, each beat echoing the question in his mind: was he enough? He could still hear his daughter's laughter from the other room, her bubbly energy tangling with his racing thoughts. "You look great, Daddy," Lily called out, her giggle wrapping around him like a warm hug. "Are you ready to sing to the crowd?" He couldn't help but smile, her confidence infusing him with a little hope. "I think so, kiddo. Just gotta breathe, alright?" They drove to the park together, the sun glinting off the leaves, painting the world around them in vibrant hues. Jitters pooled in his stomach, but he pushed them down, focusing on the innocent joy on Lily's face. She was busy tapping her little shoes against the dashboard as a new song played through the speakers. When they arrived, Jake blinked at the scene laid out before him. The space was buzzing with families, fair stalls, and laughter. Colorful banners flapped in the warm breeze. Amanda was there, briskly directing volunteers and setting up tables, her own excitement palpable. She caught sight of Jake and waved him over. "Just in time. The crowd is gathering, and the energy is amazing," she exclaimed, pointing towards the makeshift stage where a small group of musicians were tuning their instruments. "You ready for this?" Jake looked at her, searching her eyes for any hint of doubt. All he found was unwavering faith. "Yeah, I think so. No turning back now." Hours slipped by as he watched the event unfold. Families gathered, kids played games, and local shops set up their booths. Each smile he witnessed drew him deeper into the heart of the community, reminding him why he chose to do this. As evening approached, the sun began to dip, casting a golden glow over everything. The time had come. Jake's heart thumped loudly in his chest as he took a deep breath, his palms sweaty as he approached the stage. Lily winked at him, as if to say, "You got this." The MC's voice rang out, calling him to the stage. "And now, we have a special performance from Jake, an incredible local talent and an inspiring father." A cheer erupted from the crowd, shockingly loud. He could see familiar faces, Amanda waving, local friends, and even a few strangers who had come together to support the cause. His breath hitched. As he moved to the center with his piano, everything else faded into the background. The lights dimmed, and the crowd hushed. A lump formed in his throat as he looked out at their expectant faces. He placed his fingers on the keys, hesitating for just a fraction of a second, then launched into the opening notes of the song he and Lily had sung countless times at home. It was a song about hope, about togetherness, echoing the spirit of the community he was a part of. The melody wrapped around him, and for the first time in days, he felt peace wash over him. As he played, Lily skipped along the stage, twirling and dancing beside him, her joy infectious. The crowd's response was immediate. A wave of warmth surged through, hands clapping, laughter mingling with tears. Eyes glistening, he poured his heart into the performance. Each note was a declaration, reclaiming his fears and vulnerabilities. In this supportive environment, he embraced the music, transformed by the experience, each chord resonating with more than just sound. It resonated with emotion, with the collective spirit of everyone there. But midway through the song, he glanced down at his old piano. In that moment, a thought flashed: what if this performance was not just an opportunity, but a beginning? What changes would this spark in his life, in Lily's life? Just then, as the song crescendoed, he caught sight of a shadowy figure approaching the stage from the side, a man in a sharp suit, looking intently at him. It was someone he recognized, someone whose presence could shift everything he thought he knew about his path forward. Jake's heart raced. Was this man here to pull him away from his dreams or push him further into them? The last note lingered, silence fell over the crowd, and Jake's breath caught in his throat. What did this encounter mean for him and Lily? Would it lead to the change they so desperately needed? The truth hovered on the edge of silence. The silence hung thick in the air, a tapestry woven with anticipation and uncertainty. Jake's fingers stilled on the piano's keys, the echoes of his last note fading into an uneasy quiet. The shadowy figure stepped into the fading light, his presence commanding attention. Lily, ever the spirited daughter, bounced on her toes. Her innocent excitement contrasted sharply with Jake's dawning apprehension. Who was this man? He looked familiar, but that did little to quell the storm building in Jake's chest. The figure approached, and Jake's instincts kicked in. He had to protect Lily, to shield her from whatever this was. But as their eyes locked, Jake recognized him, a former boss, a man with connections in the industry that Jake once dreamed of breaking into. "Jake," the man said, his voice smooth but heavy with emotion. That was something special. Jake swallowed hard and forced a smile, the kind that felt both grateful and guarded. "Thanks. Just doing my part for the community." The man shook his head, taking another step closer, his gaze unwavering. "No, really. What you did out there, it was inspiring. It's not every day you witness someone pour their heart out like that." Jake leaned back, heart thudding in his chest. Inspiring? It was just me singing. Just an old dad trying to keep it together for his daughter. "Maybe," the CEO countered gently, "but what you showed tonight was about so much more than that. The connection, the authenticity, it matters." Jake glanced toward the crowd, feeling the warmth of their support. They were still there, smiles and cheering, as if they were still wrapped in the music. "I'm glad you felt that," he replied, searching for the right words. "But I'm just here for Lily, really. To show her she can believe in herself." The man nodded, considering Jake's words. "And you did that, perhaps in ways you don't fully realize. I have a proposition for you." A rush of thoughts collided in Jake's mind. A proposition? What could it be? Was this about work? About music? He shook his head slightly, as if to shake off the confusion. Right now? Yes, right now. Why don't we step aside to talk? Before he could answer, Lily stepped forward, her small hand gripping his pant leg, her brown eyes wide with curiosity. Daddy, who is he? The CEO smiled gently at her. Just a friend who thinks your dad is talented and wants to help him. Jake felt a mix of pride and fear simmering within. This was new territory. He wanted to scream at the feelings bubbling to the surface. One moment he was simply a dad, the next, he was teetering on the precipice of something bigger. Can we get ice cream after this? Lily piped up, clearly more interested in dessert than the adult conversation unfolding. The tension on Jake's shoulders began to soften just a little. Sure, sweetie. He turned his focus back to the CEO, determination threading through his thoughts. What do you want from me? The man leaned closer, his voice lowered but carrying weight. I want to help you, whether it's with your music, your career, or your community work. You caught my attention tonight. Let us explore what that could look like. Jake's heart pounded. Help. Explore. Feelings of self-doubt waged war against something unfamiliar. Hope. Hope for more than just making ends meet, hope for a future that might hold something greater. Okay, he said slowly. But my priority is Lily. She comes first. Of course, the man replied, lifting his hands in agreement, a glimmer of understanding in his eyes. As they talked at the edge of the stage, Jake looked at Lily, who was happily chatting with a group of kids nearby. Her laughter danced through the air, mingling with the sounds of celebration around them. In that moment, Jake felt a shift within. Maybe this was the answer to the questions that haunted him. Maybe it was time for change. But just as his thoughts began to settle, another figure emerged at the corner of the crowd, a face from his past he never thought he'd see again. It was someone he had unresolved issues with, someone whose presence could complicate everything he was trying to build. Jake felt the last threads of certainty unravel. Could he juggle this shift and the echo of unfinished business at the same time? As the tension of uncertainty coiled tighter around him, the potential for change hung in the balance. What would this meeting mean for Jake and Lily? Would he grasp this opportunity, or would the weight of his past drag him down? Jake felt his heart race, a chaotic storm of emotions swirling within him as he locked eyes with the figure that had just emerged from the crowd. It was Mark. The name echoed in Jake's mind, bringing with it a flood of memories, some bitter, some bittersweet. Mark had been an integral part of his former life in the music industry before everything fell apart, before Jake chose to step away for the sake of his family. Jake, Mark called out, his voice cutting through the joyous chaos surrounding them. The crowd's laughter and applause faded, replaced by a tense stillness that hung between the three of them. Jake's protective instinct flared, every fiber of his being screamed to keep Lily shielded from whatever turmoil Mark might bring with him. Lily, sensing the shift in the air, looked up at her father. Daddy, who is that? The innocent curiosity in her voice tugged at Jake's heart, but he couldn't muster a smile this time. Instead, he focused on Mark, who stepped forward, an apologetic look etched across his face. Can we talk? Just for a minute? Mark's tone was soft, but in it lurked the weight of unfinished business, years of silence and regret. Jake hesitated, his gut twisting. He had no clue what this conversation would open. I'm busy right now, he replied firmly, glancing at Lily as she clung to him like a lifeline. Please, it won't take long. I need to explain, Mark insisted, and there it was, the temptation, the spark of curiosity that always had a hold on Jake. He felt the tug between his daughter's innocent need for comfort and the inner conflict battling within him to confront the specter of his past. In a moment of vulnerability, he sighed, pulling Lily closer. I'll be right back. Just wait here. He stepped away from the conversation with the CEO, who watched the unfolding drama with a mix of concern and interest. Jake, I know things ended badly between us, Mark began, his eyes flickering with regret. But I've changed. I've missed what we had, your talent, your music. And I want to make it right. Jake ran a shaky hand through his hair. Make what right? You left me when I needed you most. I lost everything because of that. Don't you think I know that? I've carried that guilt for years, Mark admitted, his tone raw with honesty. But tonight, seeing you up there, pouring your heart into that song, it reminded me of everything that was good. I want to help you get back to that place. The words hung in the air like thick fog. Jake's heart quickened, fueled by a mix of anger and a faint flicker of hope. And what do you want in return? He asked, eyeing Mark with skepticism. Nothing but the chance to help a friend, Mark responded. I've got connections, insiders who could help you get your music out there, where it belongs. Just give me a chance to prove it. Jake's mind raced. Here was a potential lifeline, a way to carve a path for Lily, to build a future he had craved. Yet, the anger from their past loomed like a storm cloud, threatening to drown out the light that as he weighed his options, his gaze flicked back to Lily. She was oblivious, laughing with her friends, the carefree joy of childhood shining through her laughter. Okay, Jake said finally, his voice steadier than he felt. If I even consider this, you need to promise that you'll be there for both of us. I can't go back to the old ways. It has to be different. Mark nodded, his expression earnest. I promise. Jake turned to look back at Lily, her laughter somehow quieter now, more precious. He wanted to believe that this could lead to something good, that maybe this moment could spark a change for them. But just as he was ready to engage in this new path, a sharp voice cut through the air. Jake. It was Erin. She stood a few feet away, her arms crossed, eyes filled with concern. Her presence was unexpected, but it ignited a new conflict within Jake. Could old alliances and past mistakes intertwine with this potential opportunity? Would he let the past bleed into the present, or could he forge a new path for himself and Lily, despite the shadows lurking behind, the possibilities stretched out before him like a winding road, filled with uncertainty and hope? What would he decide? As the weight of the choices loomed, Jake found himself once again at a crossroads, and this time it felt like everything was on the line. What would it mean for his future if he took the next step? Jake felt his heart sink as he turned to face Erin, a mix of dread and confusion swirling inside him. Her expression was fierce but tinged with a softness that suggested she was not quite ready to unleash the storm brewing in her heart. He couldn't ignore the sledgehammer of memories that accompanied her. Erin, he exhaled, trying to calm the sudden rush of emotions. The weight of their past felt heavy in the air, years of shared dreams, the tumultuous break, and the silence that had stretched between them. Is this really a good time? She asked, her voice softening as she gestured toward Mark. You're seriously considering talking to him? Jake clenched his jaw, torn between the potential promise Mark represented and the emotional storm Erin brought with her. I'm weighing my options, he replied, trying to keep it casual, but he could feel the tension radiating from her, like static electricity in the air. Options? Or old ghosts? Erin shot back, her eyes narrowing. I know how much you fought to keep Lily safe from all of this. You can't just let him waltz back in and mess it all up again. Lily's laughter echoed, a poignant reminder of what was at stake. Jake glanced at her, tucked away in her bubble of innocence, blissfully unaware of the complicated world of adult choices swirling around them. He needed to protect that joy at all costs. This is different, Jake insisted, facing Mark, who stood silently, trying not to invade their moment. Mark wants to help. We could get back into the music scene. I know it could mean something for Lily's future. Erin shook her head, her frustration bubbling just beneath the surface. And what about your future? You've rebuilt yourself, you don't need him or the toxic mess that came with him. You can't just sweep the past under the rug like it didn't happen. Jake felt the sting of her words, the truth echoing loud and clear. I know what he did. But I also know what I lost, he said, scrubbing a hand over his face as uncertainty settled over him like a thick fog again. Mark finally spoke, his voice breaking into their heated exchange. I can't change the past, Jake. But I promise I'll do everything different. You don't have to trust me completely, but just give me one chance to show you. Aaron's eyes darted to Mark, disbelief flaring. And he thinks he has the right to pull you back into that world? Jake faced Aaron, desperately trying to find a common ground. I don't want to go back to who I was, I want to evolve. This could be the bridge to something better for Lily. A future. The moment hung in suspension, Jake's heart pounding as he watched the flickers of emotion play across Aaron's face. This was not just about him anymore, it was about what kind of life he wanted to create for his daughter. Aaron's shoulders slumped, resignation spilling over her features. Maybe you need to decide for yourself. Just remember, Jake, trust is not given lightly. Mark needs to earn it. Jake felt a rush of uncertainty mixed with determination. He turned back to Mark, searching for a glimmer of sincerity in his expression. I need to know you mean it. What is your plan? How can you help? Mark stepped forward, the fervor evident in his eyes. I can open doors, introduce you to producers, set you up with gigs, all of it. But more than that, I want to be a part of your journey. I want to be there for Lily too. The words brewed a whirlwind of thoughts in Jake's mind, intertwining possibilities with fears. It all felt dizzying. Lily's laughter, vibrant and free, reminded him of the stakes. The choice was heavy, yet it felt oddly electric. Could he truly weave this past back into his present without shattering everything he had built? Just give me one night. I'll prove I'm serious, Mark pleaded. As Jake looked from Mark to Aaron and then back to his daughter, every heartbeat echoed with the weight of potential. The warmth of hope mixed with the chill of fear, and he could sense himself teetering on a knife edge of choice. Could he really find a way to embrace the light again without losing sight of what truly mattered? What door would open if he took that leap? The night air felt charged as Jake stood between Aaron and Mark, uncertainty clotting in his throat like molasses. The street lamps flickered, casting a warm, hazy glow that felt almost surreal against the backdrop of his chaotic thoughts. Lily's joyous laughter echoed like a melody that he couldn't afford to lose. I'll do it. Just tonight, he finally said, the words spilling out before he could second-guess himself. Let us see what you can do, Mark. Aaron's eyes widened, a depth of emotion swirling behind them, but she didn't take her gaze off him. Jake, her voice was pleading, laced with concern. She wasn't just his past, she was a lifeline. You really think this is the right way? There was a fragility in her tone that tugged at his heart. I have to try, Jake said, his decision hanging heavy in the air. For Lily. And for me. Mark's expression shifted, something bright flickering behind his eyes. I promise I won't let you down, man. Just one night, if nothing else, I owe you that much. With a slight nod from Jake, Mark gestured for him to follow. As they walked, Jake could feel Aaron's eyes on his back, a silent weight that held both support and despair. The chill of the night seeped into his bones, but the tension layered between him and Aaron pushed him onward. They arrived at a small bar tucked away, one of those places where the music lived in the walls. The kind of place that bristled with hope and potential. The dim lights and scattered tables hosted a mix of patrons, artists, dreamers, and the weary souls looking for a spark. Mark strode to the stage and adjusted the microphone, the band behind him tuning their instruments. Jake felt a gentle hand brush against his shoulder, and he turned to see Lily, her tiny face lit up with anticipation. Daddy, are you gonna sing? She asked, her voice high with excitement. He smiled, a warmth bubbling within that fought the clenching fear in his stomach. Maybe, yeah, Daddy. I want to see you. She clapped her hands, her enthusiasm infectious. Jake's heart swelled at the sight of her, but a knot tightened as he glanced at Mark. Could the past really stay buried? Would tonight be the spark that ignited everything he had worked so hard to build? Mark began to play, the soft notes swelling into the air, each note a plea, a question, a promise. Jake's soul stirred as he listened, the familiar chords igniting long-buried dreams within him. "Come on up, Jake," Mark called, lifting his chin with all the bravado of someone determined to shift the tide. The crowd turned, eyes shimmering with curiosity, and Jake felt the pulse of their expectations. What if he failed? But then he remembered Lily, her smile so bright, shining like a lighthouse in a storm. With trembling legs and a heartbeat echoing in his ears, he climbed onto the stage. The mic felt warm and heavy as he hesitated, glancing back at Erin. She stood towards the back, worry etched sharply on her face, but there was a flicker of something else. Encouragement, maybe. Lily's small voice broke through the noise. "You can do it, Daddy." Taking a deep breath, Jake discovered a rush of strength coursing through him. The music swelled, inviting him in, and he plunged forward. As he sang, everything flooded back: the raw energy of the stage, the connection with the audience, the dreams he'd tucked away. Each note wrapped around him like an embrace, and he poured every part of himself into it. Jake suddenly felt the barrier between his past and present start to shimmer, a portal forming through layers of regret and hope. But just as he began to lose himself in the rhythm, a sudden crash from the back of the room caught his attention. The crowd gasped, and for a moment time paused. What had happened? The song wavered on his lips, and he turned his head to see a figure standing in the doorway, silhouetted against the bar's bright neon lights. Who was this mysterious person, and what did their arrival mean for the fragile dreams he was trying to rebuild? The figure stepped forward, clearing the doorway and revealing a familiar face that sent shockwaves through Jake's world. It was Claire, his late wife's best friend. Her expression was a mix of surprise and deep concern, and Jake's heart quickened, memories flooding back, mingling with his present reality. She didn't belong here, not in this hopeful moment that felt so far removed from the pain of the past. As Claire made her way to the front, Jake's mind raced. What was she doing? Why now? The crowd observed with bated breath, curiosity hanging in the air like a tempting aroma. Jake felt the warmth of the spotlight shift from him to her, and suddenly, he was struggling to breathe. "Jake," she called, her voice trembling slightly, breaking the silence like glass shattering on the ground. "I didn't know you'd be here." His heart sank. "Claire, what are you doing?" he whispered, his mind a whirlwind of confusion. The performance was supposed to be about healing, about communities coming together. Yet all he could think of was how Claire had been a tie to the painful memories of loss. "Please just let me talk," she pleaded, her eyes glassy with unshed tears. "What's there to say? You disappeared when we needed you, Claire," he replied, frustration tinging his tone. "I know," she said, her voice cracking. "But I've regretted that every single day. I wanted to be here today, to see you, to hear you. I wanted to tell you how proud I am." For a moment, the moment stretched, an indelible silence wrapping around them like a heavy fog. Jake glanced at Lily, who was now peering up at him with wide eyes, innocence clashing against the tension swirling like a storm. "Daddy, is everything okay?" Her question broke the dam of emotion within him. He sighed, feeling the weight of his past choices crashing against the shore of his present. "It's fine, sweetheart," he whispered, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach his heart. Mark stood by, sensing the sudden change in atmosphere. He turned to Jake inquiringly, ready to provide support for whatever storm was brewing. But Jake felt exposed, raw, caught in a maelstrom of conflicting emotions. He couldn't deny Claire's presence brought a potent nostalgia, blended with anger and confusion. "Jake!" Claire stepped closer, her voice urgent yet gentle. "I've heard about the charity event. I know how hard you've been fighting, and I'm sorry I left you. I couldn't face the grief, but I want to help you now. I was filled with regret for too long." Tears glimmered in her eyes, and suddenly the gravity between them felt like love and loss wrapped together. This was the moment where past pain collided with the present struggle for hope. Jake hesitated, emotions tangle-wired in his chest, a longing for connection paired with a fear of reopening old wounds. still deeply caught up in the whirlwind of change, he realized that this life he began to weave was not just for himself or Lily. It was for healing. He had to confront everything, even the ghosts of the life he once knew. The audience waited, sensing the tension. "I don't know what this means, Claire," Jake whispered, feeling his heart pound. "Things can't go back to how they were." "I don't want that either," Claire answered, her sincerity washing over him like the dawn, gentle yet illuminating. "But I want to be a part of your life, to help you as you push forward. You have a gift, and Lily needs to see you fully alive, not just existing." Claire's words danced in Jake's mind, her honesty a beacon piercing through his fears. His gaze drifted back to Lily, who stood there wearing the playful innocence of childhood. She would want her father to thrive, to be whole. As he looked at her, hope surged within him. He needed to carve a new narrative, one that reclaimed love, grief, and healing. Tonight was not just about music or opportunity, it was about the connections forged between hearts that refused to succumb to the past. "Okay," he finally spoke, a determination settling within. "Let us do this together, Claire. For Lily. For your friendship. Let us face what happened, and build from it. I can't promise it won't be messy, but we can't run from it either." Claire nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks, reflecting the finale of their complicated journeys. "Then let us rebuild, start anew." Jake turned back to the audience, now feeling the weight of all their eyes shimmering with understanding. He raised his voice, filled with renewed fervor. "This is not just about me anymore. Life is about community, weaving the tapestry of our journeys together." He took a deep breath, locked eyes with Lily, who held her hands out wide, a visual encouragement for him to soar. And as he prepared to sing again, this time it felt different, as if the music held a new meaning, an anthem of rebirth, resilience, and love. With every note, they wove their pain, their hopes, and their connection into the music dancing in the air. The energy shifted, wrapping around the audience, inviting them into the ever-growing tapestry of life. A transformation was unfolding, eyes shining with tears of joy and understanding. Jake knew this was only the beginning of their journey. It wouldn't be easy, yet it felt right. And as each note resonated through the venue, he discovered a beautiful truth: he was not alone. They weren't simply elevating their dreams without their history, they were building a future forged from their shared stories of struggle and triumph. That night, the performance transcended the stage, gathering hearts, mending connections, and lighting the way toward infinite possibilities. Jake stepped down from the stage, heart glowing with new light while holding onto the hands of those who mattered most, ready to embrace whatever came next. As the crowd erupted in applause, he could feel the connection mingling with hope, igniting the dawn of new beginnings. And so, with Lily by his side and his heart fully alive, he stepped into a future unfurling beautifully in front of him, grounded and brave, ready to face every unknown head-on. Don't wait not even one more second. You need to subscribe now to catch the next exclusive stories that will inspire and transform your life. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread this powerful message of hope. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this heartwarming ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this beautiful transformation in their lives. This is the moment to show your support, true fans. Let us keep this journey alive together.